Oh, what's going on up here? Welcome back to the wet coast, and the weather is amazing. Summer is just over a month away, and that means camping season is nearly upon us. And because of that, I want to spend a little time on this old girl here. So if you haven't seen any of my previous videos on this 1990 Dodge B350 work van, I want to turn it into a bit of an off-road capable camper. For now, I'm only doing the first phase of that, and that is just something that needs three things for camping this year. The first one is reliability. The transmission in this van needs to have a small rebuild done to it. All the gears work, but it won't shift from first to second to third, etc. So I'm going to tear that apart in a different video and fix that. The second is security. I want to have a nice place to sleep in here, and I want it to be secure and comfortable. And the third thing is electricity. I've got an actual fridge in here that's running off of a solar/alternator system that I've put together. I've done a bunch of research, and I'm designing and building a system that will allow this fridge to run for at least 2 to 3 days for camping on the weekend, for food security, food safety, that kind of stuff, and to keep the drinks cold too for those wonderful nights around the fire. So this is the system that I've put together. It's got an MPPT charge controller that will take input from both solar panels as well as the alternator when the vehicle is running. I have one 100 amp hour battery. I'm going to double that to 2. A 700 watt inverter. It's a sine wave inverter, so it's good for my electronics like my laptop and the camera, as well as it's got enough beef to take care of that little fridge. That little fridge is actually running right now, and it's only using about 4 amps of power, which is pretty amazing. But I'll talk a little bit more about this system when I start putting it together, and I'll show you how I'm going to mount it inside the van and make it safe and secure and not too much in the way. The back of the van is going to be a very comfortable bed, and beneath it is going to be storage. But let's move on up to the roof and I'll show you what I'm doing right now. So for now, I just rested these two 100 watt solar panels from Amazon. These are eco-worthy, they're not too bad. Seem to be doing the job right now. I will actually double the amount of solar panels up here because I have the roof space, as you can see. I'm going to put a decent fan in where that little plate of glass is glued down to the opening. Get a lot of ventilation for nighttime camping because it will get pretty moist in there at night, especially on colder nights. The first thing I need to do, take care of this disgusting roof. I'm going to pressure wash it. I'm going to sand it down with a disc sander, and then I'm just going to give it a coat of paint. And I'm not going to do anything fancy. It's just going to be a roll-on job with Tremclad / Rust-Oleum. I'll keep it white to keep it cool inside the van as much as possible. And eventually this van I will do all the body work on and change the color, but that's going to be probably next year. Anyways, time's a wasting. I only have so much daylight left in the day, and I'm going to start cleaning the top of this roof now. Well, I gotta say, that's looking a lot cleaner now. I am gonna let the roof and myself dry overnight before I start tackling the sanding. But, you know, I probably didn't need to worry about cleaning the roof before I did the sanding, but it feels good. So, tomorrow's another day. Well, everything has dried off, including myself. And I've got my trusty die grinder here with a lot of sanding discs for it. And I'm going to climb on top of the roof and start sanding off all that old crusty paint that is flaking. So, time to get to it. Okay, this is ridiculous. I have got to find a better solution because this is after about half an hour, and I think I'm maybe 1/50th of the way of cleaning off the paint on this roof. I need to look into a better solution. Maybe some type of sandblaster or chemical removal of all this paint, but using that little die grinder is going to take me a month of Sundays, and I really don't want to spend that much time doing it. So I'll get back to you. So a little sidebar on solar panels. You really got to keep these things clean. In a mobile environment like being on the roof of a van, they're going to get really dusty, and it's amazing how much impact it can have on your energy generation if there's a bit of dust on top. This is obviously pretty extreme because I've been sanding the roof, but I'll show you how much energy is being generated for these panels right now, before and after I clean them. It's pretty impressive. So you can see right now both panels are generating a combined current of 5 amps. And that's with the dust on them. I'll go up top now and I'll clean them and come back down and see how much more power it generates. The numbers don't lie. Half an amp increase just from cleaning those off. Over 10 hours, that's, 5 amps, so worth doing. Well, do you remember the old adage about watching paint dry and how boring that was? Well, turns out watching paint being ground off with an old die grinder isn't much more exciting. But fear not, I have a belt sander. Who knew I could use this thing for more than just scaring my cats? I'm just kidding, I don't scare my cats with this. This thing works a lot better. I've got an 80 grit belt on here, and I'm gonna tackle this roof with it now. Just look at that thing go. So much faster. All right, so after about 3.5 hours with the belt sander and a little bit of help from the die grinder, I have about 1/4 of the roof down to bare metal, or mostly bare metal, enough that it doesn't matter. Now I've got some weather that's coming in and I want to get this section of bare metal painted, otherwise it's just going to end up a big rusty mess by the time the sun comes out again. And to do that, I'm going to give it a wipe down with some acetone, and then hit it with some Tremclad gloss white rust paint, and that should cure in time for the rains. Dodge was really kind and thoughtful to put these paint trays in the roof of the van. It's almost like they knew I'd need to do this at one point 30 years down the road. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. These heavy oil-based or alkyd paints like Tremclad and Rust-Oleum actually do a pretty decent job. You can paint the whole vehicle with these and it turns out really nice. There's people on YouTube that have done it. They thin it 25% or 50% with either lacquer thinner or acetone, and it turns out pretty professional if you put the time and the prep into it. Time and prep is actually pretty important, which is why I spent all that time sanding and wiping it down with acetone. This paint will roll out, smooth out by itself. It'll look pretty good tomorrow. I will put a second coat on here, but today it's protected from the elements. Tomorrow I'm going to pick up on sanding the other side of the roof. I really want to get that side painted and get the solar panels mounted properly, because if I do that, I can worry about the back half of the van another time, and if the weather's bad, I can just turn my attention to working on the interior. Give me plenty of time to do that. I'll be sheltered, so I'll have options on what I'm going to be working on the van.
One eternity later.
Well, I decided not to bore you with all the sanding, wiping, and painting, so here's the big reveal. Ta-da! I think this looks pretty sharp considering it was about 14 hours of grinding and wiping and sanding and 2 coats of paint. My total cost was about 40 bucks Canadian for the Tremclad and the acetone. I bought a pack of grinder discs off of Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description for you guys to check it out. They came in so handy. It removed the old paint really fast. It didn't score the metal that much. And it was really good for me to get into these little grooves here. So it really made the job a lot easier. I'm not going to win any best of paint car shows with this, and I don't care, because all I wanted to do is protect the roof. I've got, once this paint has hardened up sufficiently, which will be in the next day or so, I'm going to tackle installing the 2 solar panels on the front. That'll be another video, including the fan that I'm gonna put in here for ventilation. So if you enjoyed this video, why not hit the like button? And if you enjoy my channel, why not subscribe? I've got a lot of fun stuff planned, not just vans, but bikes and bees and a bunch of other stuff. Regardless, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.